Welcome to Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, the podcast that gives you an unfiltered, behind-the-scenes look at what it's really like being a woman in the middle who's over 50 and following her entrepreneurial dreams. Grab a superhero cape, girlfriend, because you deserve one. I'm your host, Master Certified Life Coach and Midlife Mentor, Suzy Rosenstein, and I am excited to inspire you with interviews that feature all of this midlife amazingness. Let's go. Hey there, welcome back to the show. We have a really exciting interview ahead of us about helping healing-focused entrepreneurs grow a sustainable, predictable, and profitable business. Today, you'll be meeting Kim Guillory, a woman in the middle entrepreneur who's been a successful business owner for 28 years and has a wide variety of experiences from beauty and tanning salons to fitness, massage, coaching, and eventually also came into the online space. So welcome to the show, Kim. Thanks so much for joining us today. I know we're going to have a great conversation about your midlife entrepreneur story. We're going to be talking about your business, what's going well, and also what midlife issues might be getting in your way to some extent and are challenging you in your life as well as being a business owner. So thank you so much for joining us today. I want to know all about your entrepreneurial journey. So tell me all the things.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm super excited about this. So my entrepreneur journey started in my 20s. I was, listen, don't judge me, running away from my kids. I had lots of kids at home, a husband that worked shift work, and I had a lot of energy and not a lot of money. And so I was like trying to entertain these kids and didn't have I couldn't really do anything with them. And he was, always working. And I was like, I'm going to go crazy. I did this to save my own life. And I decided to go to beauty school. Didn't know what else to do with myself. College did not work out. I tried that one semester. And so when my baby was going to school, I was like, I'm going to go to beauty school. When I finished, I was 7 months pregnant. So I'm having number 5. And I was like,
Wow.
Okay, we can do this. I go to work for a friend for a couple of years. And then the local tanning salon closed. And I was like, I can do that and do ball and travel with my kids, set my own hours, right? So thought it was a great idea to put a tanning bed in my backyard and do nails. That's how it started. No idea how to run a business, what to do, right? Before that, I had sold Avon because I was literally the only reason I sold Avon was to give the babysitter Avon in exchange for keeping my kids for a few hours. So that was my business experience. Anyway, turns out I was really good at it. And I paid this building and business off in 3 months. And I was like, well, I'm going to expand. I can do this again, right? So I ended up putting 2 tanning beds with a hair station, pedicure station, killed it. And my teenage kids are able to work with me by now, right? And kind of help and stuff.
Wow.
And I moved that building over through the yard. So I'm 2.5 acres. So I moved it over onto the highway.
So wait, literally you're moving a building?
Yes, I literally moved it. So my first building I sold, the second building, we can talk about limitations, but I ended up having that double the size. And then a few years in, I wanted to add fitness, ladies fitness to it. There was no one in the area that was doing it. You had to go to Curves 35 minutes away. And I didn't want to go do that. So I thought,
And
well, if I want this.
Where is this, Kim? Where in the world?
Central Louisiana. So I'm in a very rural area, the ankle of the boot. So if we opened this door behind me, you would see a crawfish lake. And if I opened the back door, you would see a hayfield.
Wow.
Looking for something to do.
Because you're retelling this story as if everybody understands exactly what you're doing. You're literally moving a building. You're expanding your space. You're paying stuff off. Carry on.
Yeah. So I'm 30 by now.
Unbelievable.
And that's why I was kind of surprised that it's not like I had a vision of having a business or, anything like that. It just kind of happened. But I'm going to tell you, I was spirit-led, soul-led. I was guided. There was a voice. There was a fire. I have to do this. For it not to make sense and it to go so smoothly, there had to be another factor involved, right? I remember going to the bank and I got the loan because our credit was good, but my loan officer said I was never going to make it. No one's going to do nails and tanning out here, right? It's very Bible belts, country folks. And turns out she was one of my best customers. And when I got the second loan to add the fitness part, there was a guy standing at the counter who told me that the hospital was adding a section of a fitness center and that I was never going to make it. Turns out, did them both. But a lot of grit, resilience, determination, and I wasn't going to fail. That seriously was it. And my reason for succeeding, I couldn't be bored. I just didn't know what to do with myself. And I love my kids, but I didn't love parenting. It's the most painful experience of my life to date, to love these little animals so much, these little kiddos, that it hurt. And so I needed something to check out. I needed something to nurture, to give to. And what was unexpected is how much I got from it. So I didn't realize, like, coming from this, having unmet needs as a child, I didn't realize how much validation, how much support, how much, like, I got all of my value and worth from giving to these clients who were so excited that I served them so well. And then I kind of got addicted to that. And that's really why I was so successful. Not my proudest moments. I was just, I would have died for it. I was so addicted. I was so addicted to that validation that I received from being an important person. They would cancel their gynecologist and what do you call it? Dental and OBGYN appointments, not to miss their opportunity. I was so busy.
Wow.
I was so packed. And so can you imagine what that does for worthiness and for, an ego that didn't get needs met as a child? You see what I'm saying? Like, so there was some not great aspects to that. It saved my life. It gave me something to get up for. When I was battling my own depression and stuff, it was like that accountability was great, but I still had my own demons inside, right? So if I didn't have that to show up for, I didn't have that worthiness within myself. So it kind of played both. I became an amazing businesswoman. I made a lot of money. I did really great things, but it's that overcompensation. I was overcompensating for what I didn't have within me.
And I guess the other thing that's so interesting is because you started so young, you were young when you were having this growth and success. And now you have a lot of time to reflect on it because it all happened so young and you had such a long track record in business now.
Yeah, it happened during it. I got sick. So I had several surgeries. I was on medication. I was like really fighting it out. And I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And when I went to the rheumatologist, he said it was a condition of behavior. And that's when I realized the I had checked out, like I wasn't in my body.
Right.
And, I was doing everything for what this was giving me. I didn't even notice the money I was making.
Wow. Okay.
It was really the wounded healer, right? Like,
yeah.
I was able to caretake. I got the belonging. I got the validation. There was just so much. I don't know if there's anyone who's listening that thinking if your people are in their 50s, someone has experienced this.
For sure.
And so I give credit to my success for that. Does that make sense? It was almost like easy compared to what I was really battling.
Well, what do you think would have happened if you didn't have that health scare?
If I didn't have the health scare, I probably wouldn't be here.
Wow, it was that extreme.
Yeah. It was, I had a moment. I was doing a client's nails. I was young, probably 29, on the other side of this wall. And she was diagnosed with 4th stage liver cancer. Worked out with me every morning, very dear friend, did her nails every week for like 8 years. And when she told me that, I heard a voice in my head that said, why does she get to go and I have to stay? And that's when it all kind of came to head, fell apart. And I made a decision in that moment, putting my hands down and looking up. And I said, I'm not doing anything else. It's not fun. I'm done. I'm done here. Like, I'm done with this fight. It was just a moment of resolution and just letting things crumble and break. And if I tell you, they crumbled and broke. Everything that had stability was no longer stable after that. And so I rebuilt as a brand new person, and it's so different today. So who would I be without that scare? I really don't think I would be here.
Wow. So when you rebuilt, what did it look like?
It was very painful because I was an overgiver, undercharger, people pleaser, never said no, didn't know how to say no. I went to a mental place, like tried to put myself in, they wouldn't keep me, another rejection. And I tried to learn boundaries at that point. And I swear it was so painful. I didn't know how to say no because remember, all of my value and worth is tied to that client validating my worthiness.
Yeah.
It was really very pivotal change in my life.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
One of my clients invited me to a private, a silent retreat at the Cynical in New Orleans. And I went and it changed everything. Silence, 4 days, no talking, no, just a spiritual thing. And I went every year until it was over 40 because I remember being there my 40th birthday. So from 29, I'd had a full on hysterectomy. I was crazy. I was cray-cray. Like my hormones were not balanced. I was overstressed, overdoing. I had all these kids at home that were in sports and all kinds of things. I had high schoolers and little ones. And I started doing those silent retreats and somehow made it home to my own body. I started yoga and meditation, which that rheumatologist who told me it was a condition of behavior turned me on to meditation and yoga. So it was really, truly an old identity that had to die to step into something that I had never even known existed.
Right.
All of these years, I'm working with clients, so many clients, and I'm trying to figure out how to relate, how to stay married, how to raise kids. I didn't know any of this. I didn't even have parents. Like I had a dad, but I've never had a mom. I was like, who put me in charge of these kids? Who would do this? So I was like curious and trying to figure out how to do this. But then I would see their life and it looks so great. But then remember, I see them every week doing their nails, doing their hair, and then their husband. And I was like, nope, not what I want. Nope, 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 nope. It's not that either. And so I was on a journey to figure out how to be in relationship, how to have a family, how to have more. But it was something I had never seen.
Wow. I don't even know what to say. It's very interesting. Like I'm really trying to think about what that was like for you. Being successful, but realizing that the thing that was fueling your success was tearing you down. And you're at the brink of a rebirth, but you really don't even know what you're looking for. You just know that you're looking.
Yeah. And I think the point I'm saying is like, there's nothing I've ever touched that wasn't successful. But I think it was the sheer desire of like the need.
Right.
So I can't even, like, I remember 10 years in, my friend said, you need a business coach. Like, you need someone to teach you business. I was like, okay, that was a nightmare because I had done everything through like my soul just guided me. I was like Holy Spirit infused, just listening to the voices and guiding and doing stuff that I'd never even seen before. And then all of a sudden they're like giving me these structure and these books and I was like, whoa, I don't want to be in business. This is terrible. I changed my mind. I'd opened a second location by this time and I was trying to hire employees. I was trying to overpay them, overcompensate them to make sure they would stay. I didn't know anything about leadership. I didn't know anything about like growing people or any of that stuff. I'm just like, you pay them and they're due. And who wouldn't this is fun. I love my job so much. I thought anyone would love this. Like, it was like a gift. You should pay me.
That's hilarious. So then what happened? So now you've got yoga in your life. And what happened next? The second location, where was your next pivot?
Yeah, I've added on 6 times, had another location, couldn't figure out how to hire people or how to keep people. So I sold that location to the person that I hired. And my husband's more along the 401k line, right? He's like, and I'm the one who's just going to invest everything to grow. And he's like, you need to put that money aside. So I go into this Roth IRA, something or another, and I put the money in there. Lo and behold, I wake up in the middle of the night. I cannot sleep. Like God is just like beating me on my head. My stomach, I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I woke up in the morning because that was like going to be like the retirement point, right? It's like, oh, let me put that there and I'm just going to work when I feel like it. Not in Kim Guillory's life. Woke up and I said, I got to go get the money. Because, we live in the country, so they had to mail it off through UPS. Called them up, tore up the check, and added on. And that is really what changed everything. I call that Noah's Ark. I'm like, God, I don't know what the hell you're doing, but you must not be looking at the people who are not coming because it is not raining. Why am I building this? Like, this does not make sense. But I just knew that I had to. And that room ended up what brought us into yoga and workshops and essential oils and healthy foods. And like so it ended up exactly what I needed, but it didn't make sense. So my favorite phrase is, I'm willing to be surprised by what my mind has yet to imagine or experience.
Wow. Being willing and trusting that, being willing to be a little bit surprised, that is an unbelievable skill.
I'm going to credit it to the absence. I
Mm.
really think that the hard knocks of childhood and like that I'm going to give that some credit, man, because I work with so many like coaches and clients now who have something to lose, and it is so much harder for them. I had
Yes.
nothing to lose, Suzy. My lowest point was being 8 months pregnant, sleeping in a car, no dad for my baby, no house to live. Like, what the hell am I going to do with my life? And then I am sitting at the welfare office, like, I don't know how, but I am never coming back here again. Like, I don't know what it was in me, but there was something in me that just knew better. Not that I had seen better.
Right. Well, it's a
And so
very interesting story. So how did that change then? All this massage and yoga and all this other stuff. Then what happened? How did you find coaching?
Yeah. Well, what all of this led to was me healing myself. I had already had 14 surgeries, 24 years of medication, over a dozen diagnoses, and I'm a healthy person. I own a gym, I own a studio, I'm working out, I'm eating, I'm dieting, I'm Weight Watchers lifetime. It's like all this stuff. This doesn't make sense. And I was studying. Louise Hay was my first mentor, like for 20 years before she died. And I put the pieces together, the surgeries and like when it was my thyroids or when I had my tonsils removed, my gallbladder, the full-on hysterectomy, foot surgeries. I connected the dots, the physical manifestation to what was going on mentally and emotionally. And I couldn't unsee it. I just had to know more and to figure it out. That's what led me into really studying the body and yoga and Thai yoga, craniosacral, moving energy, like really bringing all of these pieces together and watching it physically shift in my body as I was doing the work. What I didn't know when I was searching for self-healing was that I was going to the doctors, right? Because that's where we go, and they're diagnosing the symptoms and then they're medicating because that's what their job is. But there was no talk about what is emotionally going on.
Mm-hmm.
What is mentally off? You know what I'm saying? Like and so when I started connecting those dots, I got into hypnotherapy and started like bridging all of that together. And then poof, I'm off of like 8 medications. I like everything just changed and shift. I have a clear outlook. First of all, I was on antidepressants, so I was numb, and I'm a pretty emotional person. Like I'm pretty, I don't know what's the word we would say, like, impactful in certain ways. Like I have a lot of drive behind me.
And you're very dynamic.
Dynamic. Yeah. And they were just kind of like,
yeah, just flat.
Is
that what you mean by that?
Oh yeah. It was like
just your hands. Yeah.
It was horrible. And so once I put all those pieces together, I couldn't keep it to myself. I mean, I had suffered for so long. My journals were basically just crying out. Like I just didn't want to be here. Everything was so hard. And, the past and the experiences I just didn't see any reason why it would be different. I couldn't see it. I couldn't see what I couldn't see. And once I started to get this, I started connecting the dots in the gym. Women were coming, working out, feeling better. And then they would catch crap at home, right? Then I just kept watching this over and over and over. They would start working out. First thing, plantar fasciitis, knee stuff, hip stuff. And I just knew the dots. And it was like, oh, they're not sure where to go next. They have the inability to thrust forward. Like this is showing up other people's emotions carried in their shoulders. I couldn't unsee it. And I remember specifically, I was at Mass and it was Easter and it was the vigils. It was like that midnight thing. And I remember seeing the physical manifestations in people's bodies, the limp, the shoulders. And I had been seeing this, right? Them getting out of the hair chair and the nail desk and hearing all of the surgeries. And I'm like, God, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. They want, like, I'm already like a witch in my area with essential oils and yoga and meditation and all this stuff. And that's all bad juju out here. And that now there's all of a sudden this keen awareness of what's going on mentally and emotionally that's showing up in the physical body. Like, who am I to say I can say that? And yet I'm like having to keep it to myself, but then I'm remembering my suffering and how bad it was and my commitment to, if ever I figure this out, I'm never going to hide it. I'm always going to share it. And so I was like in this turmoil. That's what led me to coaching. I saw an ad, came across Facebook. It was like my last, I don't know, fifth foot surgery. And I saw an ad or something, reached out to the girl, and it was IAN. And this is what sold me. Bio-individuality. The ability to be individual in one's own self in wholeness. And I was like, that's it. That's it. That's what I'm trying to live. That's what I'm trying to find. That's what I'm trying. And that's why people are broken, because they don't have that. They don't have the right to be that. They don't have permission. I was like, I got to do this. I don't know where I'm going to get the money from, but I got to do this. And so I was a health coach before I was a life coach. And I had put those pieces together. I didn't have the mindset part. I didn't have that clear boundary and that strength in holding those boundaries, right? Because I thought, if I'm that, then they'll go away and then I'll be nobody again. And so that's where I met you, is through that really understanding how to bring this together. So when I work with two different individuals. That healing focused entrepreneur is like, let's go to nirvana. And I'm like, boo, you're going to help the people. You're going to have to come down here. So I help ground that, because it's great. There's a lot of great stuff in there. But the problem is we live here. I was at 30 something years, 40 years. I was trying not to live here. Right. So I had caught down to that. And the other part of it was working with like doctors and physical therapists and chiropractors who were so in the head and the indoctrination of the medical that they missed the mental and emotional part. Like they missed that. So it's like bridging those two worlds together from that experience. Does that make sense? That's where the mind body stuff came in, because I was recognizing it.
Yeah, it's a little confusing because I thought, well, are you business coaching or are you helping people develop businesses that make sense for what they're in alignment with?
So mind body business coach is the actual technique, the book that I wrote, the coach training that I do.
Got it.
And then once they're trained, because we now have a new language, they're seeing things completely different. They need to understand how to make money with this new tool. A traditional business coach doesn't really understand the healing focused entrepreneur because they're not driven by money. Okay.
I totally get it now. So tell me about that book.
The book is called The Punchline Approach because it's just, let's get right to it, right? I'd spent 20, 30 years trying to figure this out, the secrets to life. And I had an invitation from, it was called a transformation something. And it's like, we're doing a documentary. It's going to be in Switzerland. And if you want to be a part of this, you have to write a book and it has to be a bestseller. And I'm like, all right, what am I going to write about? Right. So I'm like, I ain't telling my story. That's for sure. And so I was like, oh, how did I figure out how to want to live? That would be interesting. How did I figure out how to raise 5 kids? How did I figure out how to stay married for 30 years? How did I figure out how to be in business and not go under? I have figured some things out. I wasn't even giving myself credit up until that point, but I have figured some things out. So how did I figure that out? And so I go into the vortex, you can call it, or the past, right? And I'm like, what did I do first? How did I come back? Because it felt like I was gone for all that time.
Yeah.
How did I come back? And the first thing was getting present, whether that was with tapping or breathing or yoga. It came through a yoga mat. I remember the moment I was like, wow, I was suddenly into this witness consciousness. I understood it because I was actually in the body instead of out there. So I was like, I got present first. And then I remember Louise Hay saying, you just have to change your thoughts. And I was arguing with her on the side of the road. Like, no, you don't. You got to dismantle the wrong thought to get the new thought. That's not true. And I'm going to prove it. So the you part is I got to unveil to understand what's unconsciously there so that I can unlearn what I was taught. And then the N is about navigating, pivoting the neurology, change the neural pathways through new habits and behaviors. This was missing in mindset coaching because it went from here's your thought, change your thought. And I'm like, yeah, it ain't that easy. Get present, unpack, navigate. Here's the law of attraction so that you can create with curiosity. If you can feel it, you can have it. If you can imagine it, it's yours. But if you can't feel and you don't have the ability to tap into your body and feel, you can't.
So good. So this book is called The Punchline Approach: Gain Power and Control of Your Life.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I kind of get your trajectory, your entrepreneurial journey, which was a little here, a little there, a little going away, a little coming back, or a lot.
Yeah. Did I mess that up? Did I make a mess out of this?
No, not at all. I'm on track. I see where you are and where you're at. Now that we know that you love your business and clearly you're thriving, you're successful. Now you're a midlife woman. Now you're a woman in the middle. And can you tell me a little bit about what that is like to run a successful business when midlife stuff starts to pop up and, affect some of your goals, some of your plans, some of your priorities? How are you juggling that? What is coming up for you as a midlife woman?
Yeah. I think the biggest struggle for me right now in this time, and it has been for the last couple of years, so I'm 54, is the physical body change. Like the getting on stages, having the mic, and not having full on self-confidence. Like that I've not mastered that. And as much as I've done coaching on it and with it and coached other people, I still have self-judgment. And it was not as, it didn't stop me. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm 54, it's a little more obvious.
Now, what do you mean by that? What's obvious?
Like for me, physically, like the changes in my physical body, I'm not loving. Like I thought I've been wanting to be old like most of my life. My husband's 11 years older than I am. All of my friends are older than I am. And I felt like I didn't get respect because I was younger. And so I always wanted to be older for who I was. And then now I start like getting older, physically older. I'm like, no, I didn't want that part.
So when you're saying that part, what do you mean? Are you talking about hair, your middle,
the extra
legs?
weight, the changes in the body, the skin discolorations. I don't mind the gray hair. I just embraced that, which is why it's kind of a trip for me to not embrace this part, because I didn't have a problem embracing the other part. So I was like, what's
so funny?
happening?
It's so funny. And it really just shows you the difference between thoughts and facts, if you just bring it down to that, because some people really don't care about their hair and other people really do care about their hair color. And some people care less about all different body parts,
But I'm like, oh, no, we're not going to stop at this. Like so I am moving through the embrace here, but I would say that's probably the biggest, because Suzy, to be honest, I'm pretty freaking courageous.
Like, yeah, that's a little bit obvious.
so I can't say, like, I'm like, oh, I'm kind of excited when a problem is revealed. That excites me, because the worst part is not having the obvious problem. But once we're there, I'm like, oh, we have something to do. Because, I'm like so afraid of being bored. So it's like, oh, we get to go fix that. So
but when you think about that and you think about how judgy you are, self-judgment, about your body, is it the same with stage versus Zoom Square versus hanging out with your friends? Like, is it just a work thing? And is it a large audience, a small audience? What are you noticing?
Yeah, it's an unknown audience. I'm okay with people who know me because I'm so transparent, and I know they don't look at that. But I have a self-judgment about what people who don't know me are going to think.
What are they going to think? What do you think they're going to think?
They're going to think whatever they think. But here's, you want to know what the catch is? Because I've done a lot of work around this.
Oh, yeah,
I know what it is. So here it. Okay, you ready?
I am.
It's this. If she knew all that and has all that together, why can't she get this together? I have dissonance in it, right? But when you ask the question, what would hold me back or what would pause me? I swear it's the craziest thing. I've got so much confidence in what I do, on who I serve, and who I help, and who I am as a person. So much confidence. And then there's the physical appearance. And I think I judge myself like success should look a certain way, and I don't look that way. I don't want the freaking purse and the poodle. I want to be down with my people.
It's not success in every way. it's success in your health industry.
Maybe there's something. And
yeah, it sounds kind of impostery,
yeah, it's really interesting. And I talk about it. I'm transparent about it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not like, I'm in my group saying it. I was on a podcast last week saying it. And it was like, it's really interesting because I do think it has a little bit of that, or it's something about like, I help clients heal their body with their mind. And then I was like, oh, well, I should be able to change my body with my mind. Then what's wrong with that? So you could see it, the imposter in that
Yeah.
way. It's really interesting because I'm not going on a fanatic diet. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. And I also recognize like chemistry. I know I had a hysterectomy at 29 years old. The fact that I have so many organs missing and I'm as healthy as I am is a miracle within itself. So you can see the dissonance, right? Because I know the other side of the story. And yet when you ask the question, what would stop you from getting on the stage or doing this thing? That is subconsciously preventing me from getting it.
But you're so courageous that it sounds like you're doing it anyway.
I would sweat and I would do it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do think it could come easier, right? Like I went to an Abraham Hicks event and this showed up and Abraham used it to teach the crowd.
Wow. That's amazing.
Like, I know. So it's like, it's just things to still learn. And I think there's a little bit of me that needs to have a little struggle to stay relatable. I think I have a belief about that.
That's good. And staying relatable. When you think about staying relatable, does aging come into that too, or is it just in general?
Really don't have an issue with the age. Numbers have never, I don't know numbers. I think that's why. Like, I don't even know what year it is. I don't live in like, it sounds crazy, but legit. So it can't be that. It can't be the number. It's the actual, I am ashamed of my body. I'm not satisfied with my body. Like it's, and
is it your aging body or just your body? You started out by mentioning age with your body.
Well, because there was already judgment and now there's the age part and the changes that came with. So that's kind of making it a little more real.
Yeah. Oh, it's so interesting. The other thing you mentioned in your notes is the 12 grandbabies. Can you talk a little bit about the 12 grandbabies and how that's an issue or how it can come up for you and get in the way a little bit when you're running your business? It's a lot of grandbabies. Congratulations. Enjoy.
Yeah, so if Jesus can do something with 12 disciples, I can do something with 12 grandbabies. So I would say that it's not much. If I have a struggle with the grandkids, it's because I'm not interested in like competitive sports and stuff like that. And that makes it hard because they're in all of that. And I want to have more of a meaty, like, I'm like, have them while they're babies and then bring them to me when they're teens and above struggling with life. And I think it's because I was never a kid. I don't know how to relate to kids. I don't it's almost like a part that is just missing. And so I had 5 kids and they all do amazing. We had a lot of boundaries and it was, they had to walk the straight line and they had, and so my kids don't need us. Like they all live around here. We're together all the time and they're not the type, like I'm not the babysitting grandmother type. And so I didn't really balance that. I tried it. It was, cool. It brought back like backflashes.
Right. No, it sounds like it. Yeah.
I would love to say that I am all that in that department, but I have to, I wouldn't be honest to say that it's just.
Well, I think it's coming to terms with exactly the way you relate to your grandchildren and being cool with that, The other thing that really stood out in your application was when I asked you about what you noticed being a woman over 50, how it affects being an entrepreneur. And you mentioned that you were somebody who came into the digital space later at 50, and that you had been doing everything by hand and in person for a long time. And then now there's all, you're in the digital space. There's digital marketing, there's social media, there's all kinds of digital stuff. What's that been like for you?
I see it in my clients who are older, that's why it was pointed out to me. It's just not natural for us,
Yeah.
to do that. And I mean, even my bookkeeping was all written out, and now to move that to QuickBooks, the video thing, it took me 3 or 4 years. I remember getting coaching on that 3x4 space. And I'm like, it is not a 3x4 space. It is a brick wall and it's ugly. And I mean, I was like, I had to do so much coaching around that, the digital video, but like I'm 200 something episodes in now on my podcast. So it's like, I've gotten over all that. But the way, like, let me ask you, do you think that it's possible to be in business without social media today?
I do actually.
Yeah.
But it's a decision. And you need to figure out how you're going to market that's not social media. I think it is possible. It's a different way to go, and you have to be very serious about it. But I think it is possible. It also depends on your goals and where your people are. But not everybody loves social media. Like
no,
I have
for sure not. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I think it is possible, but you do have to. You have to really be very intentional about it. And I took a course about it and I'm very interested in it, but I have a group that's not on Facebook because they don't want to be on Facebook, and women our age, we definitely grew up with technology was very different. Like I remember the first technology, I was just telling the kids the other day, and of course they were rolling their eyes, but I was telling them, I remember the first like newfangled piece of tech that I got was a calculator in grade 11. Do you remember what the first piece of tech you got was?
I guess it would have been a calculator too.
And then Pong came along. You're a little younger than I am, but was in high school at a different time than you. But yeah, it was so different. And now it's just a part of who they are.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, it's very, very different.
But I was talking to a little guy yesterday who was interviewing me for a summit, and he was like focusing 17 to 21-year-olds. And he was telling me how they're so tech savvy and they know how to like get all that attention, but that he wasn't thinking that was very great either, because just because they knew how to get the focus and attention and that, I say it, famorosity, they were, that he was actually like kind of peeved by it. But I was like, what frustrates me is when I'm working with healing focused entrepreneurs, their intention is to help people have a better life. And they struggle with this being seen and heard. I think it comes from the indoctrination from the healers in general, just all this burning the witches and, all this stuff being all the religion. And I think that's a big part of it because they're having a visceral response to social media and they're not in the position where they can just go throw tons of money at Facebook. You know that you're not going to just spend a few bucks. You're going to be pumping out some money now. It used to be 4-to-1 return, but it's not anymore. And so if they want to meet more people and people know what they do without spending money on Facebook ads or anything like that, I just don't see a way around it. If they're going to have to find people locally or they're going to have to get on social media. And when this comes up in the body and then they go into mental paralysis, then they're just like, and that's the neurology that's not wanting to adapt and change.
Yeah. Well, the adapting and changing is certainly required as a midlife woman because things today are very different than they were. Like even because your track record is so long, 28 years with business, that first business looked very different than your current business. Even just you describing doing things by hand is such a great example of how that was totally cool to do that. It was okay. You could do that. What would you say your biggest piece of advice is for women our age who are running their own business in a significant way that they could make an improvement or to be on the lookout for when it comes to midlife popping up? Because you've managed a lot. Long-term marriage, long-term career, lots of pivots in your career, all these kids and grandchildren. You've really been managing it. Sure, things are popping up. You're doing some bobbing and weaving.
Yeah.
But what would you suggest?
It's breaking the generational cycles. I'm going to tell you, because it's just a habit that was passed down and passed down and passed down, no matter what we're talking about. Like I hashtag myself $1 Million Grammy because I'm going to help my grandkids pivot beyond what we limited their parents to. So I'm going to rectify my faults and how I limited you and how my beliefs were off and I contaminated you with that. And so it's
being
kind
really aware of the limiting beliefs that we hold. period.
Yeah, I made it a competition. We're pretty competitive. And I was like, no big deal. I'll just show them and then they'll pass you up. And it's the same thing I would say for the 50. Like you've got to be willing to die to that old identity of the conditioning and the indoctrination of the limitations. I know that's a lot of big words, but we are the results of what has contaminated us, what we've been indoctrinated. That's all we know. I mean, you can take anyone and make them who you want them to be on that level. Of course, there's other components, right? And so if you're in your 50s and you want to compete with other people in the market, your only option is to pivot. You can't bring what was. And I mean, if there was a way to do it, I would have done it. It took me 8 years. It took me 8 years because I was so right that people needed to come in person. It needed to be that. I had all those stories. No one's going to pay me that doesn't know me. No one's going to do that online. No one around here is going to pay for coaching. All of that was blown out the water. Like it was just lies that I was telling myself and believing. Yeah. And I could still be sitting in that position. I could still be doing $5 tans and $20 nails and $10 yoga. I could still be sitting here doing that if I wasn't willing to move it, but I had to shift my neurology. This stuff is in the cells of our system. Like we've got genetic predisposition. We've got generational indoctrination. We've got, I'm going to use the word samskaras because that comes from yoga, an energetic scar from our personal experiences that hasn't been integrated, that hasn't been processed. And every time you go to do something scary, the body buzzes. You know, and so we've got that that's going against us. And then the paper and the pen doesn't work anymore. So you've got all of that.
It's a lot. Yeah.
It's just not what it was. It's just not what it was. And
so true.
And there's two things that keep me going. You want me to tell you and your people what it is?
Sure.
For being over 50. The first one is I want to die well.
Yeah.
I want to die well. And I'm not willing to let that make me unwell. And so that drives me.
Yeah.
I've just upgraded all my Peloton equipment, I want to die well.
Mm. Yeah, that's
great. And the second thing is I have a little toy hearse in here. If you were in it, did you do what you came to do? Mm. And those two things.
Yeah. So thinking about regrets, thinking about health and regret proofing.
Those are the things that keep me going. Like but when you open the book, the worst thing is not dying. It's dying with potential unmet. Like what a sad story.
Yeah.
You know, and when I'm working through this body image stuff, I mean, I have to talk to myself from a different perspective. And it was like, oh, are you making fun and mocking what spirit made you, what God made you? Like, come on, really?
Yeah. Oh boy, you've shared a lot of really powerful stuff. How can people get a hold of you? What are your best contacts?
My podcast is More Than Mindset, and it has a matching Facebook group, a companion to it. And I'm on all social media channels as myself, and my website is myself. I try to keep it as simple as possible.
You want to spell your name?
Kim Guillory, Guillory.
No dots, no hyphens, just
on
your
Instagram,
name.
Someone took it, so I had to put a dot in between. And I'm on all social media channels, pretty active there. But mostly we do a lot of live stuff, and because where I'm coming from is such a different perspective, they kind of need some warm up time.
Sure.
And so we do a lot in the Facebook group. I do a lot of live stuff there.
That's amazing. Well, Kim, thank you so much for taking the time from your day and sharing all this. I really appreciate how you've made significant pivots along the way, continuing to grow forward and really push yourself as an entrepreneur. You're so motivated. You've got a lot of midlife areas for hiccups, but you're managing them pretty well. But this one that you're talking about self-judgment and body and the way we change as we age, it's so amazing that you are as aware as you are, and there's lots of great work that you can still do. You're on the right track. I totally love what you're doing. You're amazing. So thank you so much for coming on the show. All right, that is all for now. If you're listening and loving what you hear, please like and subscribe. Reviews are great too and much appreciated. And if you're a woman in the middle who's 50 or over and would like to also come on the show, please go to www.midlifeinterviews.com and fill out an application. We'd love to have you on to share your story. Thanks so much for listening. And it's never too late for you to put yourself on your agenda. We'll talk to you real soon. Now, real quick before we say goodbye, if you are connecting with this show, I'd love to invite you to a happiness breakthrough coaching session. It's my laser-focused coaching call that will help you get clear about what's getting in your way as a woman in the middle entrepreneur and confident about your next steps to more happiness in your next chapter. Head over to www.nextchapterbreakthrough.com. Talk to you soon.